All right. Before we get started, I just wanted to quickly remind everyone that we do have some OMMA folks here to hear some of your questions. I know that you probably have some questions about regulations, policy, things like that. Not what we're going to be talking through in this today. Today we're going to be talking about Metrc. If you do have those questions, feel free to ask them. I won't be answering them, but if OMMA's here to hear those, and if you do have those questions, we'll make sure we're going to gather all those up after all the training sessions this week, and we're going to get out some documentation out in a couple weeks to kind of answer any of those frequently asked questions for regulations, but also for functionality as well. So, and then to anyone online, if you want to enter any of your questions into the question box there, we're also going to be periodically going through those as well. We'd like to, any questions you have, feel free to ask them. If I can answer them, I will. If not, then we'll take note of them. Again, so OMMA will be here for all the sessions to hear those things. And then we're also going to record these trainings, and we're going to release kind of a best of the trainings here as well. So we're going to record everything and get those up there. So questions, you will be periodically stopping throughout the session to answer those. But if there is anything, and we'll have someone with a microphone that'll be able to walk around and let you talk into the mic so that everyone that's online will also be able to hear your questions. Other than that, like I said, we're going to be just talking about growers in this session. I think after the session, we'll have a processor. So if you're a grower processor, you can go to both. But we're not really going to dive into all the functionality. We're going to be very specific to growers today for this particular session. All right. And Amber here, she's the ASL interpreter that'll be doing this session today. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for making the trip out here. Or if you're online, thank you for joining online as well. Today we'll be going through the Oklahoma Grower Roadshow. So this is a very high-level overview of the functionality specific to growers here in Oklahoma. It'll also go through some of the basics around how to set up your license and things like set up your license, also to plants, packages, things like that. My name is Brent Doherty. I'm a key program manager here for Metrc. So my job is to work with the OMMA to implement the system and as well as maintain it throughout the course of your program. So today we're going to go through an introduction. I'm going to introduce you to who our company is, Metrc, who we are, what the system Metrc does, its functionality, how does it work. We'll also be going through how to set up, like I said, how to set up your facility, tags, how to order those, how those work, as far as tracking the packages and plants, and then also how transfers will be processed. We'll also go through the waste disposal process as well. And then finally, we'll end with the integration with other software. So talking about third-party vendors that you may be familiar with or may have reached out to you already. And then we will also go through the training and support. We really harp on those two features of Metrc. We want you to have as much knowledge about the system as you can. And we will go from there. So who is Metrc? So Metrc as a company, we started in 1993. We have over 25 plus years of supply chain process and tracking, over 30 years of computer technologies, 15 years of RFID tracking. So the tags do have RFID component to them. And then everything with the design of the software, the tags, all of that is designed in-house. So and even the help and support is also Metrc in-house as well. So we don't outsource any of those different features. Those are all handled within our company. So Metrc Focus. So this slide is really just to show that we've done this in a lot of other jurisdictions. We're at 20 jurisdictions now that we've worked with. We've tracked, millions, if not billions, of different transactions. We've had over 1 billion events tracked in our system. So we've been doing this for, specifically with cannabis since 2013 in Colorado. And this is really just to show you that we've done this before. We have a lot of experience with this. And so, if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out. And again, we'll stop periodically to answer those. And then our uptime has been over greater than 99.9%. So we've seen very few unplanned downtimes throughout the course of our system and different jurisdictions. What is Metrc? So Metrc's compliance management tool. It's really a reporting tool to give you oversight of the marijuana industry. It's good for it's a tool used by OMMA to be able to understand what's going on within your license. And then it's cloud hosted. So the big key here is you do not have to buy any hardware whatsoever to work with Metrc as long as you have computer. Computer and internet access will get you everything. Will be everything you need to use the system and report in through the Metrc system. All right, so there are a few different applications. So I just want to clear up a few things here. So Metrc is a regulatory tracking tool. It's a way for you to report in your activities regarding marijuana into the system. It's not an MRP system, so if you're looking for something that's going to track your water, your electricity, and different things like that, that system was not going to be capable for that. That's something you'd have to look for an integrator to help provide that. Same with the enterprise resource planning tool. We're not going to be tracking your financials, things like that. This again, the only thing we're going to be tracking in Metrc is marijuana plants, packages, and sales, and transfers. So how does Metrc work? So there's two sides to Metrc. There's the industry side and the regulatory side. The industry side, which is where you'll be working in, and the regulatory side both go into a web-based UI. And then we also have an API, that external system as well, that will integrate with that web services that goes into a database. And then that's how we can pull all that information out for reporting and regulatory ad hoc reports. How's Metrc built? So the way we like to describe it is if you think of the Oklahoma medical marijuana industry as an office building, right? OMMA, as the regulator, they own that office building, so they can go into any office they want. They can, they're the ones that own that building at the end of the day. You all, as a licensee, each license is, think of it as your particular office space within that building. You can go in there, you can set it up how you would like. You have to, make sure you have your employees in there. You have, all your different, all the different features that you have to add in to your license, but that's your license. You can think of Metrc as the facilities management company. We make sure that the hallways are swept, we make sure the water's running, make sure the lights are on. So if you do, if there are any issues with ones that kind of handle that. But at the end of the day, your license, that's up to you to make sure to maintain that. So OMMA does not have the ability to change anything within your license. So everything that goes in there is coming from the industry and the industry users. It is real time with a data backup and a failover. And it is, we do have dedicated servers to Oklahoma, so there's no mixing of anything from other states. How does Metrc work? So Metrc's organized, like I mentioned, into an industry side and a government agency regulatory side. So you're going to be really focused here on the right-hand side here. That's where, especially on the top part with the cultivation. So we start tracking everything at an immature plant level, and then moves to a vegetative phase where we'll receive a plant tag. So the plant tag will be applied once it moves to vegetative stage in Metrc. And then it'll be moved to a flowering phase when it's being prepared for harvest. And then once it gets harvested, it will then go into a harvest batch and then packaged out. And then once it's packaged, it'll have a package tag. And that will stay with it for the rest of its life cycle, whether it being repackaged, tested, transferred, and eventually will make its way to patron purchases. So make its way to sale. And that is the end of the life cycle of that package tag. All right, so if you haven't already done so, and if you haven't been credentialed yet into Metrc, the steps for that would be you have to take a new business training course. So those are available once a day on the regular schedule, which is metrc.com/Oklahoma, the Oklahoma partner page for Metrc. Or you can, as anyone that's in person here, go through Metrc Learn, which is our new LMS platform. You would just have to log in there with your license number and things like that, and different information you have to enter. Once you get that account, you'll be able to take that training on demand. So you can take the scheduled trainings through the partner page, or you can take it on demand if you use the Metrc Learn LMS system. But once you do take that training, The training needs to be taken by an owner or key admin. Once they take that training, they will reach out to our support team, provide, I would reference the next steps document, which we have released out to the industry as well. That's available on a few different channels. But the next steps document walks through all the information that is required there. But it's going to be your license number, your name, in that you took the training. We'll verify you took the training, that you're an owner, and then you'll receive what we call your welcome email. So it'll look something like this. You'll use this link to create your account. So you'll see here in the bottom screen here, the password, create your password, put in your phone number, security question, and then you will set up your user profile. So once you set up your own user profile, you'll want to set up your business profile. So think of this as setting up your office space. You're going to want to, your Metrc admin needs to request the credentials, receive them, and then you can actually add in facilities. So one thing I want to be clear on is if you have multiple facilities, you do not need a separate login for each facility. You can add those out underneath and then add employees across multiple licenses. And it's actually a single sign-on. So you'll see it when we go over to the demo side. You'll be able to see how you can switch between licenses without having to log out and log back in. And then for each facility, you'll have to add in your employees, which again, you can add employees across multiple licenses when you're adding them in. You have to add your strains, which is important for cultivators or growers specifically, then items, and then locations. And we'll kind of show you through a demo how that works. So we'll go through this in the demo environment as well. So there's item categories, so there's items, and then those go into categories. The categories are configured by OMMA to match what is allowed within this jurisdiction. And then you create items of those different item categories. And then different item categories sometimes require different information be entered. So going to go to admin. So like I said, the item names, we want those to be specific as possible to make sure that it's clear for both the regulators, but also for you and your employees. So a good example would be if you're doing pre-pack flour, you want to have the strain name, that it's flour, and then potentially add that, denomination of the pre-pack as well to differentiate between the two of them. Like I said, the item name should be item/product specific. And then item names cannot be created to combine multiple different items under one tag. So if you're, thinking gift baskets, things like that, that's not going to be an item that's allowed to be created here. And these are all the item categories across all the different license types. Most of these will not be available to you as they're majority for processors. So you're going to be really focused on the flour, shake trim categories. And then locations. So you want to create your locations. For locations, think of it as specifically as you want to, but rooms at a minimum, it's got to be the room, right? So if you have a veg room A, veg room B, at least have that. But you can be more granular if you'd like, and we'll show you where some of those things can be helpful. You can do changes by location. So if you want to break up a large room into smaller sections, you can also do that. The key is that it works for you. So you want to be able to know if an inspector comes in, this is what room that's referring to. So even if, it's just, you can name it whatever you want, as long as you know exactly where it is and you can direct the inspector to that. But again, you can be as granular as you want, or you can be just as simple as what the room is. All right, so we're going to jump into the testing environment now, or the demo environment, sorry. So this is what you would look like when you log in. So you enter your username and password. If you don't recall your username, you can recover it there. If you need to reset your password, you can do that as well. There's also the ability to look at training videos, and signing up for training is also available on this page. So we're going to switch over though. I've already logged in here. And we'll switch over to web page. And we will enter the password. Alrighty. So you'll see here in the top right here, if you do that little drop down arrow, I'm not a admin under this demo vibe, so I can't show you this, but this is where you'd find your ad facilities. If you were a key admin, you just go in and enter the license number, and I'll add it under your account as a key admin for that account. And then this is also where you can, the user profile is where you can change your password if you need to, and then also to logging out. So you'll see there, yep. And then so we'll go to the admin tab now, and we'll go to the employees. So you'll notice here there's two types of users here. There's licensed and unlicensed. Right now, the only licensed users are ones for the transporter agents. So if you're adding folks that don't have a license number from OMMA, they would be what we call an unlicensed employee. So you would add the unlicensed. You enter the first name, last name, and their birthday, month, and year. And then you will add them into whatever functionality you want to allow them to have. So right now we're in dispensary, so this one's not showing. If we can we'll switch back to the grower. So if you go here, this is how you change between them. So you'll see there, that's all the licenses that I have associated with my account. You can switch between them under one login. So you'll see here that the permissions do change based on the license type. So now you're seeing all the plant functionality as well. That's available to be given to them. And you see on the right-hand side here, you can also add to multiple facilities at once. And then you put first name, last name, birthday, put their email address in, phone number, and that'll actually generate a login for them. So that typically, so that be how you go about that. One thing I want to draw attention to is the admin menu. So this is the area where it is very important to kind of keep a tight control on it, especially around the employees. So if you have the ability to manage employees, that means you have the ability to lock out people. You shall have the ability to disable people, and you can also change the permissions. So really important to note who you are giving this access to, and also making sure if there is anyone that you choose to cease that is no longer with the company, to make sure that they're being disabled. So if they're disgruntled, they're not going in and locking everyone out, and then no one can do anything in Metrc. So just one quick note there on the admin menu functionality. So we'll scroll up here, we'll exit out. You can also edit employees. So you have the ability to edit. You have the ability to lock, unlock, and then also disable. So locking is a temporary lock of it. You can do that for as long a period as you want. You simply unlock them. However, if they are no longer with your company, I would recommend the disable, which is all the way to the far right, the little trash can symbol. That is disable. So that'll permanently disable them from accessing at least your license. And so that covers the employees. Next, we're going to move to the strains, or sorry, locations. We go to locations there. So locations, pretty straightforward. There's when you're adding a location, it's the only differentiation between the different location types. So you want to put in a name. So if we're going to add locations, you put in a name for that location, and again, you can do it across multiple facilities if you'd like. But you put in a name, and then particularly for growers, you'd indicate if it's an indoor grow or an outdoor grow location. That's very straightforward. Next, we'll get into the strains. Well, those would be different locations, so you'd add multiple locations. So the question was if it's an indoor, if you're doing indoor and outdoor. Well, the location should be as the largest the locations can be are rooms. So you have to create different locations for each room. So if you had an outdoor, you'd have an outdoor location and an indoor location in that case. So the question was, what if I have indoor and outdoor? You'd create separate locations based on where they are. All right, so we're going to go strains now. Nope, we're in. Yep. So it's important to note here, you have to kind of go with this sequentially, at least for the items here. You do want to create your strains first because you will be required to associate strains with the items for flower and shake trim. And if you don't create them here, you're not going to be able to create those items. So we're going to go add a strain. And you'll put in, we'll put in strain, we'll go with Oklahoma flower. Testing status. So this is to indicate if you do have done testing on it and you do want to input a THC, CBD, indica sativa. Just to be very clear, these numbers do not reflect anything with test. You can enter test results you found from test results indicate here, but this will have no bearing on the testing of the actual product once it's been packaged and submitted for testing. So this is really more for informational purposes if you wanted to internally have this information in there. You can also go in and edit this information if you have none here and enter that in, and then you can actually go back in, edit it, indicate you've got a test by a third party and change it. But again, it has no bearing on the test results for the packages of this product. So we're going to go ahead and create the strain here. And then we will go over to our items. All right, so we're going to add items here. And you're going to enter. So first, you'd select the category. So what we're going to be doing here. So we're going to go flower and buds. So you'll notice when I select flower and buds, you now require to enter strain. So that's why it's really important to enter the strain before you enter your items. So we'll select the strain, Oklahoma flower, unit of measure, grams, and then the name will say Oklahoma flower is probably the easiest one to go with. And then we'll create the items. Typically, we'll see if you see some of these other item names you have here. We have flower, blue widow, or blue flower, or blue dream flower. Typically, you want to have kind of the item category in that item name as well. It makes it a little bit easier. So we'll create that. And now so now we've got everything kind of set up. The other area, which we'll get into in a second, is the tag. So the other piece of getting your account set up is ordering the tags. But we'll flip back. So the tag orders, the way that works is you go to your tag orders, new tag order, and then you put in your plant and package totals. You put how much you want in there. Just so you're aware, if you have the facility in there, that'll just populate from the file that you have with Thentia. So whatever the address is in Thentia, you can just pre-populate it in there. If not, just enter it. Credit card or check or money order are both options here. One thing I'll note is the credit cards will work faster, as we won't ship until we receive that money orders or check. So that will delay things if you are looking to get it expedited. We do have that option available. We will have that option available after the beginning inventory phase to expedite shipping. You would just have to reach out to our support team after you complete the order. All right. We're gonna flip back over to the presentation, to the slide deck now. So tags and tracking. There are two types of tags in Metrc. There are plants and packages. Plants are immature, vegetative, or flowering. They all must be entered in as immature plant batches at first. We do not tag at the immature plant level, which we'll get to in a second when we get into the plant's functionality. But once they do get to a vegetative stage, that tag will stay with it for the life cycle of that plant until it gets to a harvest batch, in which case it'll go to a harvest batch name, and then from there it'll be generated into packages, which are created from either immature plants, harvest batches, or other packages. So kind of what I was just discussing here starts with the immature plant batch, which will not have a tag. Once it moves to the vegetating, it'll get a plant ID number, so that tag number, a unique identifier. That will stay with it from veg to flowering and into the harvest batch. Once it meets the harvest batch, we'll have a harvest batch ID, which will be generated by you all to connect the packages to the plant. Once it has been dried and cured, you will be able to, you will package it up into a package, and then that package ID will stay with it while it is transferred and received by other facilities. So if you do transfer packages to a processor or a dispensary, they do not need to re-tag it with their own tags. They can use the same tag that you have on it initially. Tag explanation. So two types of tags, like I mentioned. We have the plant tags, which are 45 cents. The package tags are 25 cents. The plant tags are a little bit. The reason for the higher cost of the plant tags, they are UV resistant, water resistant, and just in general more durable than the package tags just strictly because of the conditions that they are under throughout the life cycle of the plants. We will talk in a second there, but we do come with straps. You can use that as a stake or as a way to hang it from a lower weight supporting branch. And then the package tags have actually a peel and stick backing, so you can actually put it directly on a package, and it also has a tearable lower half, which typically we see is really more used at the dispensary level. They can keep that with they can keep the smaller one with the identifier with their upfront inventory. As far as a package limit for 15 pounds. Correct, yes. Yes. If you so we really the way tags are really designed to be is to track the batch, so the lot. So for the 15 pounds would be the limit, but if you had those broken up into smaller bags, now if you had to transfer those to different places, then those have to have different tags. So as long as you're transporting that all together and keeping that all together, you should be able to keep that, even if they're in different bags, if they're all in one, say one container. Correct. Now, you'll notice here on the tags, you see your facility name, your facility license number, and then the ID number right there. So that 24-digit alphanumeric number, that's the unique identifier for each plant and package. That's also encoded in that barcode there, and there's also the RFID within the chip, within the tag as well. So it's trimodal as far as what you can read. And then, like I said, the similar with the package tag. The only difference with the package tag is the RFID is not in the tearaway piece. So you're asking about immature plantings, which we'll get to in a second here. Once we get through the tags, we'll talk about plants. And it'll probably answer some of these questions a little bit, but that's a different process. The packages is specific really to things you're packaging to sell or transfer or test. So the question was about immature plantings, which we'll get to in just a second. Tags are one-time use only. So you're talking the labels. So yes, that the labels are that those are not something we deal with. That's something that if you have questions on labels, that would be for OMMA. But the tags are specifically to track the lot. So if you're breaking it down into individual units, those will all have to meet the requirements for labeling. So it's a way to really track the batch as opposed to the individual pieces there. So. All right, now we're going to talk about plants. So like I had spoken about earlier, there are straps that come with the tags for plants. You'll see here in this picture when they're smaller, so we really recommend to tag them once they get moved to their own pot. If you're already taking them out of the cloners, putting them in their own pots, and you're already touching them, that's the perfect opportunity to tag them as well, because that's what we've seen is a nice little easy way to kind of track it. But when they are small like this photo on the bottom right, you can stick the strap and use it as a stake through it, and that's actually a really helpful way to keep it oriented so it's easy to scan for the inspectors when they're coming through. So again, they get tagged when they move from the immature batch to the vegetative. Once they get larger and you're able to hang them, we would recommend doing so. I'd say probably the best example of how to do it is the one in the center. On the center here, at a lower hanging branch, having it kind of cleared away from the canopy. If you see the one on the far right there, that one might be really hard to scan if that's in the middle of a bunch of different plants, because the tags are affected by water content, which the plants have water in them. So if they're in the middle of the canopy, they'll be much harder to read. So we always recommend staking in the ground, and then also hanging it from the lowest hanging weight supporting branch you can, and try to make sure it's a clear line of sight. If you could look through the bottom of the canopy, you can kind of see all the tags. So the other thing I'll note here on the tags is that those they're actually reusable straps. So there's 3 notches on there. So if you do need to readjust it as the plant grows, you can cut it off and then use the next node to reattach it to another branch. All right, so plants are entered as strain-specific immature plant batches. They don't receive the Metrc RFID tags at that point. Now, if you do package them, then they would receive a package tag, but they don't have any plant tags on them until they reach the vegetative phase. And then once it goes to the vegetative phase and they're tagged, that tag will follow through the flowering phases and then to the harvested phase, which it'll be tracked by the harvest batch name. So just one thing I want to kind of note here is that there is a difference between the OMMA regulations terminology and our software technology. So OMMA does have a definition for immature plant and mature plant. We kind of break that up a little bit more, the immature plant, vegetative plant, and flowering plant. So realistically, thinking of the flowering plant as a mature plant as far as the OMMA's regulations are concerned, and then the vegetative is kind of the in-between phase between when it's non-flowering but does not, it's in a planter or in a cloner. Correct. Those be tracked as, and we'll go through that in a second here. We're going to track it. That's tracked as an immature plant batch. So the question is, again, the immature plant batches are not tagged. They're tracked by a immature plant batch identifier, which you'll be entering in. All right. So we're going to now jump into the demo environment, and we're going to go to plants. So if you go to the Immature tab, I'm going to create a planting. And actually, let's actually jump over to the vegetative and create a planting from a mother plant just to show that example. So if you wanted to create one off this blue dream one on the top here, we would select it and select Create Planting. And you'll notice here, so you have, when you're entering this in, you have your group name, which will by default be the tag number. But we're gonna get rid of that. And we're going to go strain name and date is what we always recommend for your naming conventions for both immature plant batches and harvest batches. Well, it's going to be Blue Dream. Blue Dream. Okay. Clone. It's going to be from clone. Plant count. So say 20. You're going to put in your location, which we have a immature plant room. Just like that. The strain. And then today. Create the planting. So that's not what we're supposed to do there. We would have normally put in a Blue Dream there for the strain and in the naming, but for this purposes, we're going to use Immature. Go to Immature. So you'll see we got the Oklahoma flower 05, 03, 22. You'll notice here you got 20 plants, 0 tracked, 0 packaged, 0 harvested, 0 destroyed. You also notice the source package, source plant, so you'll actually be able to see what mother plant that came off of directly in the system. Now is the time I'll kind of note a few things that are very consistent across Metrc. There's the columnar sorting, first of all, which is those 3 dots that you'll see here. And you select that. You can actually edit the columns that are being shown here. You can filter, so there's different filters that are available there. You can actually apply multiple conditions to each column if you want. You can apply multiple filters on different columns. And then I'll note here once, the other piece that I'll note here is once you do get it to, if you have something you're looking at that you want to export, the export button is that little printer button. Just like that, you can export to Excel or PDF. So it's a nice, easy way to kind of generate a report that of what you're looking at, and then you can export it. So if you get rid of any columns you don't need and you have some filters applied, it'll export exactly what you're looking at. And then the last thing I'd note is the little carrots here on the left-hand side. Anytime you see that, that's going to add an ability to expand on whatever that entry is. As you can see here, this is really just not much here because it's an immature plant we just created, but you'll notice it'll have the employee name as well as the date. And the difference between the date and the reported, the date is what I'm entering, the reported is when I actually entered it. So if you do, if you do post date something, that you can see that. And then from here, we'll walk through a few different areas. A few different things you can do here. So first, you can package up these plants. So if you, or we'll go to the Blue Dream one. I believe there's Immature Blue Dream. So if you take this Blue Dream 0503, we create a package of it. So we'll go plant count. Say we're going to package 5 of them up, right? 5. Package date today. We're going to assign a package tag number here. So that little magnifying glass, if you select that, that'll give you the pick list of what you can select from. You'll see that in a few different places here when we're talking transfers, specifically is another one. Location, you'll see that. But also note here, you also note here, you can start entering. This is actually an autofill as well. So if you go, or package room, either way. And then the item, you can do that search as well. So look for Blue Dream. I believe there's an Immature plant, Blue Dream clones, just like that. And then you'll create that package. All right, so you'll see here that one just went from 15 to 5 packaged. And then if I go to my packages, you'll see that that's there. All right, so so you'll see it right there. That's the Blue Dream clones we just created. And then that would be available for you. So to your point with the nurseries, you'd be able to transfer that to another facility. That would be a question for the OMMA. So we would have to, we'll take that question down. Note. Okay. Yeah. So we'll have to. That'll be something the OMMA will have to put out guidance on. All right. And the question was for everyone at home is the size of the plant. So what point does it have to be tagged? So let's go back to plants. Immature. All right. So as you all probably aware, you're not going to have 100% throughput from your Immature to your vegetative. There's going to be some that are going to, fortunately, have to be destroyed along the way. So the first step's probably going to be the one. That's probably going to be the first thing you're going to be doing with these plantings. So let's go to the Oklahoma flower 05, 03, 22. We're going to destroy plants here. You're going to put in how many plants you're destroying. So say we're killing 5 of them today, and then put a note in there, sickly or maybe just regular old, maintenance of it. Put something in there. It's good to have some notes here. Whenever you see those note fields, it's useful to enter information in there, not only so that the regulars can see what's going on, but it's also helpful for your own records. If someone's doing something and 6 months later you're trying to look back at what they're doing, they're no longer with the company. If they don't have the notes in there, it's very difficult to explain, to know exactly what was going on. But we'll destroy the plants. So you'll notice here that now that 5 is in the destroyed plants here. The other changes you can do is change. So there's rename. So you can rename the grouping. So good case of this is if you did create it from a mother plant and you didn't want to use the tag number. You want to make your own, renaming it right here. We don't have to rename this one particularly. And then we have change strains, which you don't have to go into, but that's really if you were cross-pollinating different things. So for instance, if you cross-pollinate and you have a new strain, you would create the immature planting, and then potentially you would change the strain name here, or you can change it once it gets to vegetative. Either way works. The change location, change growth phase, which we'll get into in a second here. There's record additives and record waste. So you can record the additives or record waste by plant batch, by individual plants, by groups of plants, or by location. So right now we will actually take this planting and we are going to change the growth phase for 10 of them. So you're going to enter how many plants you're moving to the vegetative phase. So we'll put 10 in here. And then you're going to put a starting tag number, and the system will automatically select the next 9 tags there and give you the first start and ending. So you're going to be able to go through your tags, rip out the 10 you need, and then go from there. The new phase is going to be vegetative. And then the new location, it's optional, but typically you are going to be moving them for the most part, we're going to go bedroom B here. Let's go bedroom B. And then change day will be today, and then change phase. So you'll see here now, you've got 10 tracked, 5 destroyed, 5 plants still remaining in there. So that these will update accordingly. So now we're going to move over to the vegetative. And this good example here is you'll see here, we have a lot of old ones here. If you just click on the phase date a couple times, we're gonna get to the ones we were looking at. So there's some of those from earlier, the earlier session, and then we're looking at the Oklahoma flower here. So if you wanted to even, filter out by strain to just get the Oklahoma flower ones, we could do that. So that'll get you just the plants we want to look for. All right, so you'll notice here pretty much most of the same options as you had in Immature. The difference is here you can now create plantings from the mother plant as we showed there before. You also have the ability to assign and replace tags. So if you do, somehow you notice one of them has lost a tag, you're not sure where it is, you can just replace it through here. Just make sure to enter which tag you are replacing it with. The change growth phase, change location, destroy, those are all similar. Destruction on that front, I do want to just note, if you are destroying vegetative plants, you will be required to enter a weight for how much, what it weighs when you destroy it. So there's a waste weight associated to it that you'll need to enter. It's also very important here because it will have to get disposed of by the waste facility, so I understand it. So we will change we'll talk about recording additives and recording waste. So for the most part, from what we've seen, typically that's a change by location for additives, especially if you're doing something in the whole room, you're going to want to do it by location. Waste similar if you're doing just typical trimming and you're trimming an entire room, sweeping it up and then weighing the waste at the end. We do have a way of doing that and entering that. So we'll go to the waste first here. So you go record waste, you go to the waste tab, record waste by location, waste method. Waste disposal transfer is probably going to be what you're going to be using here if you're not doing anything to it before it gets moved to the waste disposal facility. Material mixed, if you're not mixing with anything, it'd be none. You'll select the waste weight. So say 100 grams maybe, or say 100 grams works. Reason, trimming, pruning is a very common one today. And then the location, we'll do bedroom B. Select. So you'll record that waste. You'll notice here that's the 10 total plants. So if you notice, you click down here and go to plants, you'll actually see that it attributed 10 grams per plant in that location. Okay, yeah. So we'll take that away and we'll add that into the. We will talk about how you package this waste up as well. So we'll get into that, but. Yeah, that's a question for OMMA, and we'll take that note of that down, and we'll add that to the list of questions. All right. So we wasted here, as you can see, the waste goes through, it allocates it to the rest of them. All right, now we are going to switch over to the additives here. So the additives, you can record those by location as well. This is all the information that you will enter here. So you have a type. Whether it's a fertilizer, pesticide, or other. You'll enter it there, product name, EPA regulation number, supplier, application device, total amount, date applied. And then the location that you're doing that to, you'll have to enter an active ingredient. One thing I'll note here is if we go to this little lookup here, on the top left, the lookup for the additive itself. Okay, so we don't have entered any in here. So we're gonna enter a pesticide here. Or no, we'll enter a fertilizer. Just do Miracle Grow. EPA number, we'll just put a 123 here. So, we'll go Scott's. Application device, soil, perhaps, or something like that. Total amount, we'll do, do 2 pounds. date applied today, active ingredient, maybe nitrogen, something like that. And then you have to put in percentage there, so maybe 3%, and then location, we'll put that in bedroom A. Bedroom B, yeah. Record the additives. And you'll notice here again, similar to the waste, if you go down to the caret there on the left-hand side, you'll also plants and locations. It'll assign the amounts across the board. All right. So now we're in vegetative. So now we'll move from vegetative. We're going to move these to, we're going to move 5 of them over to harvest. So we can select, so again, you can select it by location. So if you want to move all of these over, all vegetable B, you go change it by location. But for this purpose, we're going to just change growth phase here. And again, so you'll see here, this is the first time you'll see this template here on the top, the template. You'll select, go down here and you'll go to flowering, check box, new location, flowering room. Again, every time you're entering something in here, if you're checking that green box, you'll see it gets filtered down to all of them. So it's a way that you can save some time at entering. So again, the only other thing here you need to note is if you are replacing the tag. Once you make sure everything's entered, change phase. And you'll see those are no longer in the vegetative because they're under the flowering. And similar to what we were doing earlier, we're going to do the phase date here. So we have the Oakland flower here, so we can maybe so you'll select those. So there are 2 areas here, and we'll switch over here to so we got Manicure and Harvest. So Manicure, and we'll actually switch over to back to the presentation to kind of go through that a little bit. So Manicure is anytime you are taking usable product off the plant but not cutting the plant down. So basically, we'll see this more often in an outdoor grow situation where you're harvesting a couple different times throughout the life cycle of the plant. On the indoor grows, you're seeing more of just the harvest feature. But if you are taking usable product off of a plant and you're not, cutting the plant down, that's a manicure harvest. You have to be able to record that, and it works exactly like a regular harvest. It's just a matter of the plant doesn't get marked as destroyed throughout the harvested process. Again, they're just like harvest batches as far as how they're tested and packaged. So harvest steps. So we're going to create the harvest with the associated plants. We're going to weigh the plant in its entirety after being cut down. You do have the ability to do that individually, or here in Oklahoma, you are able to enter a total weight and it will average across all the different plants. You will then waste out any of the non-usable plant material that's associated with that harvest batch, and then you'll package up whatever the usable plant material is into the different items, whether it's buds or shake trim. And then once you have done that, you will have to transfer that to either a testing lab, you'll create a lab sample, or to a processor, wholesaler, or a dispensary. Then once everything's completely entered, you're going to finish that. So we're going to flip back here to the demo environment, and we're going to show you what that process looks like here. So the manicure harvest, you can select one of them or multiple, again, similar to the other changes here. You can select one or multiple. So you put the harvest name in here, manicure, and you see you can put the harvest name here. I'd normally indicate it's a manicure harvest, so manicure, and then Oklahoma flower date. So again, the harvest batches are limited to strain specific, same day. So if you're cutting down all these plants in their same strain, those will all be looped into one harvest batch as long as that's the same day. Total weight. So again, like I said, in Oklahoma, you can enter a total weight here. This is a manicure harvest, so say 100 grams. And then drying location would be where it is drying, which we have a drying room created here. And manicure date today. So check those boxes, and then you can create that. So you'll notice here on the right-hand side, it has harvested one time. So now we will actually harvest those. So select those same ones, harvest. So it's going to look exactly the same. It's just a matter of once we. So you're when we're saying harvest, you're taking the full wet weight of the plant. So you have to weigh it, stem, root ball, and all. Yeah, you can enter it either individually, or you have the option as well to enter a total weight. So you weigh them all, add that all up, and then you average it across those. Yep. No. You're gonna cut that off at the stem. Yes, correct. You wouldn't be necessarily weighing the root ball. But as far as how you want that to happen, that would be something you can ask an OMMA investigator as far as what they want you weighing. But so harvest batch name, Oklahoma flower. So like I said, strain name and date. And then we can enter in a total weight here. So say 1,000 grams. And then similar to that, drying location, drying room. Today, check that off. And then you'll go down here all the way to the bottom and harvest plants. I do want to note here that you have a few options as far as you want to enter that in. You have the ability to do it through this process, but we also have the CSV option as well. So if you go over the top right here, just like that, that's your CSV upload feature. So if you want to do it this way, which we've seen, especially with harvest, and if you have a lot of plants in there, it might be easier to use the CSV as opposed to entering it directly. You would go to harvest plants. If you look at here at the bottom, those are your CSV columns and your CSV example. We also have a CSV guide under the support tab, as well as a dedicated team on our support line that handles CSV uploads and questions about those CSV uploads. So we'll go back to the plants though. So we've created that harvest. We'll go to our harvested tab, and you'll see we've got our two Manicure Harvest here, or our Manicure Harvest and our typical harvest. You'll notice the little difference here in the symbol next to them. So the one that's a complete star, that's indicating a harvest batch. And then if you see the one that looks more like a cog, with the hole in the middle, that's a Manicure batch. If you hover over it, it'll show you that. I'll also note here with the magnifying glass, if you hover over that, that'll actually show you all the information about that in a little bit easier way. That's especially important to know when you're dealing with some of the action windows, like a transfer. You can, instead of having to go and look and see what that is, you can just hover over it and know what that package number is, what the information is about that package. So we are going to next just report the waste for the Oklahoma flower harvest batch. So we're going to report the waste. We're going to select the weight that we're taking off that. So say we took 300 grams of seeds, of stems in different areas here. Waste type, MMJ waste date, today, report the waste. So you'll notice here that we have the wet weight that was initially what we entered for the plants that were taken down and weighed whole. And then we have the waste of 300, and you'll see the weight now is 700. So once we have the waste weighed out and separated, we will then have the packages. So we select that and go package, create packages. We'll enter a new tag number. These are going to be a package tag number, remember. Location, package vault. The item will be Oklahoma flower. And then quantity, we'll enter in, say, 400 grams. Sure. And then today, and then close it up. Create the package. So now you'll see here that there's a remaining weight of 300 grams. Now, when you get to the end of your harvest, so you've wasted out all of the non-usable material, you've packaged up all the usable material, you're still left with this weight here, but I don't have anything there. That's going to be from the moisture loss, because you're drying it. It's going to be lighter when you weigh it all out, because you're going to have that moisture loss. So the way that you attribute that is you finish the harvest. So you select it and finish. The date finished is today, and then you'll finish the harvest, and that will move to the inactive, which you'll notice here that final weight column actually now is attributed to moisture loss. Alrighty. Just a couple notes here on this. You do have the ability to unfinish a harvest if you need to do additional actions to it. So for instance, if you need to add the package back into the harvest weight, so if there's a mistake when you made the package, you can actually discontinue that package and add it back into the harvest. Then you can make any adjustments you need to. One note I will make on that is that if you do anything with that package, such as repackage from it or create a lab test sample from it, you'll lose the ability to discontinue it and move it back into the harvest batch. Also, if it's more than 48 hours as well, since you created the package. So the other thing too I'd note here is if you can drill down here a little bit, you'll actually be able to see the packages, the history, so you'll notice the history here. You'll have the information about all the different plants that went into it, the waste removal, used it, and then it's been finished. So that's really about it for the harvest. Now we're going to switch back to the presentation. We're going to talk a little bit about packages. So we just went through the harvest tracking, and now we're going to talk packages. So packages definition. Any amount of marijuana infused product that may be sold, transferred, or processed, it must be in one or placed in one or more containers, each having a unique tag created at Metrc. So like I said, it's really about the batch part of it. So you can have up to 15 pounds in the harvest batch package. Anything that is intended for transfer, anything you're going to repackage into a new package, all of that has to be tagged with the Metrc package tags. So we went through the packaging from a harvest already. And then we'll jump into it and we'll show you what a package from another package is. So you can combine packages, you can separate out into smaller packages. Both you're able to do here through the system. So now we're going to take you into the package tracking, and we're going to create a lab sample package. So we're going to hop back into the demo. Go to packages, active. So we're going to see our Oklahoma flower there. You'll notice here on the far right, the lab testing status is a very important field here in Metrc. So for the beginning inventory period, you will be able to transfer that not submitted status. However, once the beginning inventory period ends, you will need to have a test pass status to transfer it to a dispensary. So how do you get it from not submitted to test passed? You have to submit it for testing. So we'll select that package and then we'll select submit for testing. So you'll notice here you're going to have on the right-hand side, that's the source package. So that's the package we just selected. We're going to indicate how much we're taking out of that package. So say we're taking 6 grams. And then we're going to have on the left-hand side, this is for the new package. So we're going to put in the tag number, location, the item, which I typically will recommend using the same item here, but if you can enter it in as well, either way works. The same item I want to flag. If you do get transferred from an packages from another facility, you don't have to create an item for that package to match what that package is to repackage. You can just use that same item functionality. So it'll just transition whatever the item information from the other facility is. It'll transition that into the new package. So you don't have to create new items in that sense. So we're going to select the grams, and then you'll see that little Sigma button that will actually transfer whatever is entered on the right-hand side to the left-hand side to avoid any potential entry error issues. You're going to put in the today, and then you're going to have to put in the required testing. So this is all based on what that product is, or what you're testing. So in this case, we're going to go raw plant material. And this just indicates to the lab what they need to be testing for. So this will populate all of the test types that are required by regulation when they go in to test that product. So we're going to submit this for testing. And now you'll see we have a new package here, which that little water droplet, that's an indicator that's a lab sample package. So you'll see it's separate here. You see that now the lab testing status is submitted for testing. So now we will, and then the other thing I'll just note here, so if we want to take, if we want to split up a package into multiple packages, we could go take that package of test pass, that large red fruit punch flower and buds here about halfway down. If we want to break that up, that's a large package. We want to break that down in a few smaller packages. We select it and go new packages. And actually, one thing I'll note here is this little plus button. So if you ever see that plus button on the left, bottom left here, that allows you to do create multiple packages at once. So if you wanted to create, so what I would suggest is, so you just take note of the package there with the, so 89 is the last digit there. So we got to search for, yeah, copy, and copy that, put that into the template. And then if you're saying you're taking the same amount out of each for each one, you can put in, you know, say 1,000 grams for each one. All right, there you go. So that is one way to do it. And then you would put in this tag sequence. So it'll create, again, similar to the plant tags, is that you will be able, it'll start it based on how many items there are in that list. Package vault, same item. And then unit of measure, grams. Then you can do the, yep, perfect. Today, and then as long as everything's filled in, which I believe it is, you can go and create those packages. So you now see here that the source package is still there. So you have the packages right there, and you'll notice that 89 matches where it came from. Okay, so now we will get into the transfer piece a little bit here. So we want to transfer this lab sample. What's the requirement as far as sampling? Would you be able to send 6 grams from one of those 10 bags, and then marry all those bags together like you just showed? That's I think a question a little bit for OMMA as far as so the sense. So yeah. So if you pull 150 out of the flower room, and it's all one strain, and you have to put them in 15-pound bags, you have to pull 6 grams out of each one of the 15-pound bags and have it sent to be tested with the all same strain, all from the same room. Or would you just be able to send one small amount? Yes. So the question is on the limits, which again, to reiterate, the limits for packages 15 minutes. Okay. Well, so we'll get an answer for you. Rob, you have a question online? Okay, yeah, apologies there. The question was on the harvest batch packages. So if you had a 150-pound pound package, or sorry, 150-pound harvest batch, you would have to make 10 15-pound packages separately. But as far as after it's tested, we will get an answer for you as far as how that works after it's tested. Rob, do we have any questions? Okay.
So let's jump back a little bit. Just a second here. Does every employee need to have credentials or just the admin and owners?
So anyone that's working with, anyone that's working in Metrc needs to have the credentials. So if they're entering anything in, they do have to be added in. But if you go to the admin, you can also go here, add on licensed employees. You can do, if you go to add in licensed employees, You can add them in, and if you uncheck the enable scroll, if you enable online access, so you're actually able to enter them in even if and not give them access. So you have that option as well. So if you're just using it as strictly a way to build a roster for your employees, you can enter them all in, and then you don't have to necessarily enable access. But if they do work in Metrc, they will need that access. So make sure that's checked and that you give them the appropriate permissions that they need.
Then somebody's asking what the difference is between destroy and waste for plants.
So waste would be material. So destroying means you're destroying the plant. So if you're cutting it down and you're getting rid of it, that's a destruction of a plant. If you are trimming or pruning a whole room, sweeping that up, that would be waste. So it's a distinction there. Any more questions from the online folks?
Yeah, could you define the difference between a licensed employee versus a non-licensed employee?
It's a great question. So the licensed employees are ones that do have a license number from OMMA, and that's really at this time only the transporter agent. So those are the only ones that are going to be licensed. For the most part, you're going to be dealing with the unlicensed users.
And then how do we start from seed or harvest seed from flower packages? I guess I'm not 100% sure what.
Yeah, that's a if we can get a little
Let
clarification.
me ask a little clarification, yeah.
Yeah, so you'd have a seed. You would have, so if it's from a seed, you'd have a seed package. So you could create so you'd essentially, and we'll go through here with the transfer piece. We'll also just touch on the external transfer process, which is how you're going to get your beginning inventory in as well. There's three different sections here. There's license transfers, which is license to license transfers, which you should be familiar with. And then the external transfer is how you're getting the beginning inventory in, which is outlined in our beginning inventory guide. So we go to external, you go incoming, external transfer, new transfer, beginning inventory transfer, phone number, and just so we're clear here, this is available through the API as well. The only thing that is not available is the ability to receive it through the API. So if your integrator if you're working with an integrator and they're entering all this information, the only step you'll actually have to do in Metrc is what we'll show you after this. So the planned route, just put beginning inventory transfer. All right, and then go to the pick list here. Let's click on the magnifying glass here. We'll search for seeds here. Do we have seeds? Yeah, we do. So AK47 seeds. So you see that there. Select that. Say you're bringing in 100 of those seeds. Package date today. Register transfer. So you'll see that you have that beginning inventory transfer. You have the ability to edit, complete, and void. Edit if you needed to add more additional things here, but we're just going to complete it here and show you what that looks like. So you will assign it a package tag number. So you make sure you have the package tags. You put a location on it. So say package vault or something like that, or maybe an Immature plant room. Select that. And then you'll complete the transfer. So now you'll go into your packages. You'll see if you go to the date on it, that should be an indicator there. All right, so you've got, yep, there it is. So those are the seeds. So you actually take this and select create planting. So then you would enter, and this will look very familiar. This will be exactly what you were doing when you created that immature plant initially. Instead of from a mother plant, you're doing it from a package. All right, so next we'll jump into the transfer piece here. So you can create transfers a few different ways. So first we'll take you through the license transfers, which again is facility to facility. You can either create it from the license transfer, but I typically will see it also, you go from here. So if we just select the test sample package that we had already, and then we select new transfer, and you'll see here we'll want to put in the lab trans. So yeah, you'll go pick list, similar one, and again, the columnar sorting comes in handy sometimes here where you're able to search for exactly what you're looking for. So that's all the OK ones, and I think we want to go, yes, the OK laboratory, select that. The planned route field, and just enter an example route for the time being. And then you're going to use a lab sample transfer. So there's a few different transfers here. There's a wholesale transfer, there's affiliated transfer, as well as a waste disposal transfer. So the lab sample transfer, the wholesale transfer, the only difference there is that it does require a wholesale price for each package. So that's the main difference there. So if you see that with the wholesale transfer. So we're going to do a lab sample transfer because that is what this is. The transporter, you'll want to put in, this is the license number, so the business license number that you're entering here. Again, you have the same thing with the pick list here, so you can, say for, so we'll say we're transferring it to the facility. Phone number, put that in, that's going to be for the, again, who's ever actually physically doing it so that they're able to be contacted if they need to be. The driver here, so actually, you're able to configure if you want to save particular drivers or vehicles. You can do that under the admin menu. You can just add that information in, and then you can just use this pick list. Yeah, so the transport number, that's the license. So correct. That's where you would enter. Yes, that would be where you enter there. Yes, correct. Exactly. No, yeah. So that should be what they're using to log into the system. So that should be their transporter and license ID. So, and then you'll have your vehicle information as well, which we have a nice white Toyota van in there. And then the gross weight, which I don't believe is actually enabled in production, so you would not normally see this. But we do have to enter something in for the time being here, so we'll just put 100 grams, or no, 3 grams or 6 grams, whatever we put in for this package. I think it's 6, 10 grams, sure. One thing I'll just note here is the select files. When you see that, that's really if you are making a very large, transfer with a lot of different packages in it, you don't have to necessarily enter that all in at once. You can actually just get the package tag numbers for every package you want there. If you put that in a single column in a CSV, you can actually upload it and it'll just automatically put on all of the packages that you have in that CSV. So if there's you have a lot that's going into one transfer, that's a helpful tool there. All right, we're going to register this transfer here. And you'll notice here that it disappears from my active inventory and moves to my in-transit inventory. So you'll see here, there's a few things submitted for testing. All right, so we're going to go to our transfers here on the outgoing side first, and I'll show you how to generate a manifest here. So you go outgoing, you'll select that transfer, and then you'll want to select view manifest. And you'll notice here, there's a lot more information than what you entered. So a lot of this information just gets automatically pulled, whether it's from the licensing feed or from Metrc. So it's kind of tricky to see. It's pretty small, but you have all the originating, your license number, as well as the destination, all their information there. The address information will be populated there. So you'll notice here the transporter license there, that actually has an address on it, but all that information gets pre-populated from licensing. So then the information here, you see the name of the person transporting, their street driver's license number, the make, model, license number of and then the signature of the person transporting there. And then you'll notice here there's also information about the package itself, right? So each package would have its own entry here. So you actually see the source harvest is in there, the source package is in there, as well as the required lab dispatches, as this is a test sample package. And you'll see that information there. And then at the bottom there is the person receiving it. So that's the transfer manifest. And just so everyone's aware, you can generate that as the facility that's sending it, as the transporting facility, or if you're the receiving one, you can generate a manifest regardless. So we go back here. So what we're going to do, so this is outgoing. You have two options here as far as the shipper. You can edit and you can void. So one of the things we always recommend, and actually a very nice feature of Metrc, is that pretty much when someone creates a transfer manifest to your facility, real time, you will see that in your incoming transfers. So you're actually able to look in, and so we'll transition over to the lab license so we can take a look at it. So you're looking your incoming here. You got one incoming here. So that's the lab sample transfer we just looked at, but you're able to actually drill down using that caret. You actually see the package information. If you can even drill down into that package as well, see the history there, as well as the lab results. So you can see all that information before it even leaves their facility. So I would always recommend, if you do see something that's incorrect, give them a call, let them know so they can either edit and fix the manifest before it leaves. Otherwise, you're going to end up in a situation where you do need to reject that transfer potentially. So we're going to go through that right now. So if you select that transfer and select receive, you'll see here that it'll have all that information populated. You're just going to have to enter in a location. So transfer vault, sample vault. And then you'll see here there's the option to reject. So if the package is incorrect, you can actually reject on a package by package basis. So if there is packages within that transfer that you do want to receive, and there's certain ones you don't, you can do that individually. You do not have to send back the entire transfer if there's only one package you have a problem with. But you would have to put a rejection reason in there and a note as to why you're rejecting it. I'm not going to do it for this particular transfer, but just a reminder here on this front. If you do send out a package or send out a transfer that does have rejected packages on it, it'll automatically generate a manifest to return it to your facility, and you will have to accept it back into your inventory. So that's why I say it's helpful if they're looking and seeing what's in there to make sure that there's no mistaken receipts there, especially if you're receiving something in. You want to be checking to make sure it matches what it's supposed to, what the manifest states. So we're going to receive this transfer here. And then you'll notice that gets grayed out. Then I'll notice in the packages here that that is now in my facility. And one thing I'll just note is that that tag number does not change. So again, you do not need to repackage a product to have your tags on there. The tags that from other facilities will still work even in your license. We will, that's transfers. Is there any questions on the transfers piece here? I'll pause here for questions. Rob, any online questions?
Yeah, not, I don't know if you want specifically transfers, but we do have a few other questions.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, let's answer the questions.
Okay. So when you're selling from a package and that package goes out with the package tag on it, do both portions of the package tag need to be on that package? Or do you keep one?
That's a question probably for OMMA, but from our experience, as long as the top piece is on there, that should be fine. That's the piece with the actual RFID. We have seen some jurisdictions that, or some different areas where you'll actually rip the lower piece off and maybe put it on the manifest or something like that. There's a few different options with that, but as far as the RFID specific piece is on there, that's what is the most important piece, because that's what's being verified by OMMA.
And we touched on this, but again, we're getting a few questions on this. What has to be transferred to a waste management facility and what can be destroyed on site?
So I believe that's so it's we'll circle back with that. That's a question we've noted that we'll have to get an answer for.
Then does a clone have to come from a mother plant, or can it come from the trim prune process or culture?
Is that it? So we're asking about tissue culture, Sam? Is that?
It just says trim/prune culture.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that's, yeah, so that's, you create those plantings from the mother plant. So I think it would, so you're saying you're taking one from each plant, basically? Okay, yeah, so that would be something we can talk through, but that would have to be kind of denoted separately, I think. Just because you're supposed to be attributing where that genetics is coming from, so we're able to track it that way. Any other questions?
Yeah, can I combine 2 harvest batches of the same strain to make a package?
If they're from the same harvest, they should be one package. I guess that's a question along the lines of if it's more than 15 pounds, you're combining them, right? So those have to be separated out. Yes, so same date, same strain, same time. Okay, so even if it's a morning and an afternoon, then those have to be separate packaged. So those would not be allowed to be combined then, correct?
Excellent. How many pounds of fresh frozen can be added to a package to be transferred to a processor?
Okay. That's a good question as far as the fresh. So I'm assuming that's for fresh frozen, which we'll probably want to take down for the FAQs and just exactly how that works. But yeah, that's something. So there is a whole wet plant item category, which is really specifically for that process. So anything else? All right. So
Nope.
that pretty much takes us through. So the last few things we'll go through on the package front is we'll switch back over to a grower. You'll just notice here. Go to your active. All right, so there's a few different areas here I want to touch on. So there's so we went through how to create new packages from already created packages, how to submit for testing. There's the ability to create plantings. We went through that as well. Unpack plants, that'd be if you are bringing in a large amount of immature plants or vegetative plants, you can unpack those as well. Change locations, change items, which if you are changing items is an area there as well. Change required lab test batches. So if you do mistakenly select the wrong lab test batch when you're creating the test sample package, you do have the ability to change that before you ship it out. Adjust and change notes and finish. So the last three are probably what I'm going to spend some time on. So if you do have to adjust a package down, whether it's maybe that it's dried a little bit more in the package and it's lost some weight or something of that nature, you can go in here. Put in the adjusted quantity so that if you put in the new quantity, it'll actually do the adjustment for you automatically. That's a lot of trying. That might raise some red flags, but we'll go here and you'll select potentially drying, right? So right there. And then you can put in an optional note and adjustment date there. And you adjust it and that'll actually make the weight lower. Additionally, if you are taking out, so change notes. So notes is something that's flagged in our beginning inventory guide. It's going to be how you're denoting the information required that will make it make inspectors from OMMA able to verify any COAs that you've already tested for, right? So that's the example. And then the finish. So once a package is at 0 weight, so yeah, so let's actually adjust one of these down to 0. Let's adjust those 5 plants, immature plants down to 0. We'll adjust and put in destruction 0. So you'll see here damage, spoilage, required note, and then you, yeah, so yeah, so you'd say, got sick, ill plants or something like that. Yeah, and then finish package. So you can do it. So if the system notices that the package is not 0, you'll have the ability to do this all in one step. Otherwise, you can use the finish. So if you didn't do that, just adjust the package down. You'll notice that it's grayed out. That's because it's got no inventory in there, and you can finish that. And that actually moves it to the inactive tab, so you can make sure that what you're looking at is really pertinent to what you're doing. And you'll see that there. All right, so that's It's mainly it for packages. So we're going to pop back over to the presentation now. So we went to package tracking, went to transfers. Again, anytime it's moving between facilities, you got to have a transfer created and a transfer manifest. Again, we talked about rejected packages, requiring that to send back to the originating facility and automatically receiving that in. So we talked through this, rejecting transfers, receiving rejected transfers. So if you do receive it, you will have to put in a rejected reason and indicate why it was rejected. Transfer tracking, we went through this. Lab test results. So when they do have test results entered into Metrc, so obviously we understand that there will not be test results entered into Metrc, directly into Metrc for that new beginning inventory that's already been tested. But if you are testing it directly, if you are going through the process of the lab sample transfer that we just walked through, and they are entering results directly in there, you actually be able to see all the lab results for every package within Metrc, and that's especially pertinent for any dispensaries. They'll actually be able to see the lab results as well, and also to the COAs. You'll be able to see all of that information directly in Metrc and download the COAs for Metrc. So, all right, waste disposal. We're going to jump into the waste disposal piece here a little bit. We'll explain that. So you're going to need to add an item for waste. You're going to need something, harvest waste material or something like that. You have to create, it's a waste item category. So there's an MMJ waste category. And then you're going to package waste. So we'll show you this in the demo site. So we'll go flip back over. All right, so you'll go to your plants. And you go to your waste here. So you can, so you'll see that 100 grams there, package the waste. And you'll assign a package tag number, location. Item will be, I think we have MMJ waste in there. So if you just start typing there, no, for item. Plant waste there. Quantity, I would recommend just using that Sigma button. And also too, if you wanted to, you can also you can combine multiple. So if you select multiple of these, you can actually combine them all into one package if you want. You don't have to do all the waste entries into separate packages. You can combine them all into one. So if you had another waste number that you wanted to search for, so if you go to the magnifying glass, there's nothing in that one, I don't think. So yeah, I'd go through there. The waste disposal transfer, the VC mixed right there, 66 grams. Just like that. All right. And then if I hit that Sigma button, that's going to combine both of those into one today. And then you can create that plant waste package. So you notice that zeroes out the waste, and you'll see that now in your packages. So that's where that gets transferred to. So you'll notice here, yep. And we've already created a few plant waste packages, so you'll see those there, and you can transfer all of those together to a waste disposal facility. From a harvest, if you're wasting out harvest material as well, you go to plants. We go to our harvested, and we go to one that's got some waste associated to it. So let's go to that Blue Dream 42322. We will hit the little caret on the left-hand side. You go to your waste, and then you would select it and hit package waste. If you wanted to, similarly to what I said before, if you wanted to add multiple harvest waste packages together, or batches together, you can do that as well and combine that into one. So you'd select that contents, and then you would just search for the harvest waste entry here. Then you're going to assign a tag to it, location, plant waste, little Sigma button. We had I forget what the waste is. Oh, there's nothing left in that one actually, so I take that back. So this one we're not going to be able to use, but that's the process. You create that similar to what we just did with the room waste. That will give you packages of waste which you can transfer to your facility. All right. We'll switch back over to the presentation now, and we'll talk about, so we just talk through this. When you transfer it, it'll be a waste disposal transfer. All right, now we're going to talk a little about reports. So, we have reports based on different functionality within the system. So as a grower, you're going to see a lot of reports about plants and things like that. You won't see any reports about sales or other things that you'd see for other facility types that don't have access to plants. We're going to switch over that, and we're just going to give you quickly show you some of those in the demo site. So we'll go to our reports section. So you'll notice here we have quite a few reports here. I'll just quickly touch on the fact that in the support, if you click on the support tab, there is a industry reports guide. So it'll give you breakdowns of what each report is providing and what those fields look like. And then also what you can filter in. So you'll see here, we've got several here based around harvest and plants. You can filter, for date ranges, and in some of them you can filter for different aspects or features. So monthly plants inventory is a useful one we see often used. Package adjustments is an important one to know as an owner or a key admin, just to see to make sure, if there is a particular employees that are doing a lot of adjustments, I'm just being able to identify that. You can also do the package adjustments by employee as well. Plants destroyed is a big one. Plants inventory. The plant trends is a useful one because it will show you as kind of a line graph of where plants are in different stages throughout a time frame. Transfers, that'll show you all of the transfers you had, and then wholesale transfers is an important one because that'll show you all of those transfers in which you were receiving money for the products. All right. I will pause here for any additional questions, if there's are any. I don't know if Rob has any questions here, but it doesn't look like it. So we're going to pop back over to the thing. We're going to talk integration. So we have over 600 validated integrators across the country here that work with us. Our validation, the one thing we'll just say is, so we don't recommend any particular ones. We kind of stay agnostic in that sense. What we do recommend is that you do vet the people that you choose to work with. It's important to note if they are saying that you'll never have to log into Metrc again, that's not the case. There's certain things you have to do in Metrc, like receive transfers and things like that. But also too, we would also recommend that you are logging into Metrc periodically to make sure that however that integration is set up is accurately transferring that data over into your into the Metrc system, because at the end of the day, OMMA is not looking at your third-party system; they're looking at Metrc. So if the information is coming across incorrectly, that means that you're out of compliance because your inventory is not matching with your physical inventory. Your inventory Metrc is not matching your physical inventory. And then again, the other piece there is you'll say they'll do Metrc training as well. We offer training, in which you're aware of here, online through LMS, which we'll talk about in a second here. But just at a minimum, we always recommend just making sure you're doing your research. If you do want to check out our validated integrators list, that's on the metrc.com/Oklahoma partner page. So there's a list of validated integrators. You can see what states they're integrated with. You can also filter by what they're validated for. So there's a chance that they may be validated for all areas. The process is a little steps for them. So they sign an API agreement with the state, with OMMA. We validate that OMMA validates that they sign that agreement. They reach out to us. They take a training for their as an integrator, and then they'll do our validation process where they'll go into a sandbox and show us that, yes, I can, I know how to move plants around. I know how to harvest plant, things like that. Now, just because they perform that correctly on the validation process, that does not mean that it's always going to be 100% accurate, which is why it's very important to remember to check your Metrc inventory to make sure it's matching what's in your third-party system if you choose to use that. Again, more details here at metrc.com/Oklahoma. There's a few different areas that those integrators can be used. Some of them are just simply pulling data, right? So they can get only. There's certain ones that can do gets, but they also do putting. So they'll be able to update information in there, or they're posting, which is adding new entries into the system. All of these are outlined in our, you can reach that if they go to our integrator page on metrc.com. We do have all of our documentation listed there, which is state specific. All right, now we will talk support. So throughout this training, throughout one of the big things we always harp on is our support and our training. There's a $40 reporting fee a month per license. I did want to make sure I mentioned this as well. I know that not everyone was using it during the period of the year, so we are running reports to see who is using it at what times. If you were not using it for a period of time, we will not be charging you for those months. Just to be clear there. And if you do have any issue with what we do, what is charged, please reach out to support line. We can discuss, why there may be need for a refund or something like that. So, right. So that's where we've been working through on our end to make sure we aren't charged over. We didn't want to charge anyone for anything that they weren't using. So we had to take some time to make sure we were going to get that right. We want to get that right out the gate. So we'll be putting out some messaging this week. I believe, to everyone in the industry to let you know like how that process will work. But so if you go into the support tab has our supplemental guide, our Metrc user manual. It also has information about Metrc Learn, which is our LMS system, which if you're here and registered online, you were familiar with the Metrc Learn system, where you have webinars and videos as well. So the new business training is available through the Metrc Learn platform, but additionally to that, there are modular-based trainings that you can take. So there's a grower-specific training, which is really more of the kind of the building blocks of functionality that's available basically in every jurisdiction, how to do certain actions. And it's interactive. So it'll show you how to do something, and then you'll actually go in and do it similarly to, and then you'll pass the modules. And as you go past the modules, you then will get particular little badges as far as completing those journeys, what we call journeys. Which is really nice. In addition to the new LMS system, we also have the Metrc Knowledge Center. So that's where you'll be able to see all of the Metrc bulletins. So anytime we put out new functionality or changes within the system, those will be posted as bulletins within Metrc. So you'll see the banner, there's a new bulletin there. Those are also added to our OMMA partner page, as well as in the Metrc Knowledge Center, which is where you can find the bulletins. It's also where you can submit a request. So you submit a support ticket directly from there. There's a live chat feature. If you want the email here, the support@metrc.com is how you can contact us by email. And the phone number is 877-566-6506. We do have support running 6 days a week, so Monday through Saturday, and then Sunday we are responding to voicemails and emails on if there are emergencies that need to be handled. We do check those avenues as well. Anytime you are and again, this contact information is listed on the support tab in Metrc as well if you want to find that, or if you go to our metrc.com, that information is there. But again, anytime you reach out to support, you will be given a support ticket number. That's an important number to hold on to. It's a way you can track. So if you go into if you do get registered with the Metrc Knowledge Center, you actually can go in and track see where that ticket is. So you don't necessarily have to reach out to our support team to check on the ticket. You actually look at the status right there. And additionally to that, once you do resolve the issue and we close that ticket, you want to keep that as reference number. So if there's any questions from OMMA about why you did something, if it's because we told you to do something, you'll have that ticket to reference, and they can look up that ticket on their end to confirm that was what happened. So if you have run into issues, call support. They'll help you out. Even if they can't help you out right away, they will get an answer for you, and we will also record all of that to make sure you have the documentation. So it's good for you and it's good for OMMA. It's good for us to keep track of everything. So that is the support resources there. And that is the end of the presentation. And now we'll turn it over for any additional questions on anything that we covered today.
We do have an online question. What do we do, or what will the licensees do with any product that has already been tested prior to being put in Metrc? Like, how would they get that testing in Metrc?
So they will not. We won't have the ability to enter that information in. What the recommendation is that you enter into the package notes the information that's outlined in the beginning inventory document. Just a few different items or few different fields that will need to be, or bits of information that needs to be entered into the notes field for that package, and then that'll be able to, that information will allow any inspectors to be able to find the lab, get the COA. But the information will not be entered directly into Metrc unless you are using the lab sample process that we outlined in this demonstration here. Once they do, if they do upload that, then that's how that gets entered. But that's why the not submitted status will be allowed to be transferred during the beginning inventory period, is to avoid having you all have to retest in the Metrc. So that's why that's like that.
Another question, a lot of people asking if they can view this recording.
Yeah, so actually a great point. We will be recording all of these sessions, and we will be releasing that once we conclude this week. We'll also be following up with a document kind of outlining some FAQs from these sessions, putting that out as well. So they'll be those will be available online, and we'll share more information as those become available.
What's the process of that special? Is it these certain companies that we take it to where is all that stuff specified?
That's a number question. The question is just so we're clear is regarding how it's transferred to the waste disposal facility. So I will give a explanation to the OMMA folks on this. Okay, so for those that are online here, I'll just kind of summarize that. So if you are, you have plant waste that you are disposing of, that does have to be picked up by a waste disposal facility. If you do go to OMMA's webpage and go to the businesses tab, you will be able to find a list of all the waste disposal facilities there, but they will need to come and collect any plant waste that is required to be disposed of. So, question, sir? Yes, so the 3 to 5 business days. Yeah, so it's and again, after the beginning inventory phase is up, you will be able to expedite. Generally speaking, when we talk about the question was how long it takes for tags to arrive. So it's 3 to 5 business days from when they get ordered. What we recommend typically, if you're ordering them, just if you're ordering just what you need at the time, when you put those when you create those immature plantings, it's going to take a couple weeks for those to reach a point where you're going to have to tag them. So you can order the tags right then and there. Similar to with the packages, if you put it into Harvest, it's probably going to take a week or 2 to cure. So you can order your package tags at that point and you can have them. No, they never expire. No, they won't expire. They are one-time use only though. So you will, if you use it, then you can't reuse it for another. Yeah, yes, that's look at that like any other inventory, but they do not go bad. The question was, do tags expire? And they do not. So if you do order a large amount of tags, you can keep them on stock and those will still be good for that license. So. Yeah. Yeah. They'll be able to look on site as far as what the amounts are, so they'll be able to tell. So as long, yeah, to your point, as long as they're together, make sure they're together. So if you could have 3 boxes, just make sure they're stacked on top of each other, something like that. No, there's actually no tag on the clones. Okay, yes, if it's a package of clones, yes, then same thing, yes, correct. No, those can be, if the question is, you can have one package tag for a group of clones. So the immature plant batches are not tagged, but if they are being packaged for transfer, you can put all the clones as long as they're same strain. They have to be same strain because they have to be the same item. Then that could be one package tag for multiple clones, yes. No, it's all tracked. So once you'll send that package to another facility, and then well, if they're selling the clones, then they'll just make the sales and I'll deduct from the package. But if you're transferring it to another cultivation, they would actually create the planting from that package, and then it would be an immature plant batch. So it wouldn't get the tag until it moves to a vegetative phase. You will need to order tags before you put the inventory in because you will have to assign a package tag. So the first thing you want to do is when you set up your account through the admin menu, get your employees and get everything, but also order those tags at the same time to make sure you give yourself some time to get the tags in. So you'll need package tags, especially for beginning inventory to create the packages. We also need the plant tags as well. So I'd order so enough for your beginning inventory for packages as well as for the plants. All right. Any other questions? All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for coming out here and joining us online. Again, my name is Brent Doran. I'm a key program here with key program manager with Metrc. We will be recording these sessions and putting together, kind of recorded copies of the recordings that will open up to the public. So you'll be able to follow this along here once we do post those, and more information about that will be coming. Additionally, we will be following up with more documentation around some of the questions you're being asked. Again, we have OMMA here. We're taking note of any questions that we're not able to provide answers for right now. And we're going to make a list of those as well. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out, and I hope everyone has a great rest of their day.